excited that tonight you get to hear his story, Ingrid's story. So please welcome to the mass stage, Ron Skong.
Yes. Going old school. I think this mic has seen the end of its days. It served me well.
You should put it on like the wall. Like,
It was
put
free,
on the wall
so that's even better.
Right.
We'll go analog here for you.
Bring the
So.
microphone back.
Funny, I don't remember having coffee.
That time it really was coffee.
Oh, that's right.
Well, then hers is a literal interpretation of your comic strip.
Seriously, that's like
I think it was more like 4 in the afternoon.
Oh my goodness.
I don't remember.
Go ahead and just speak a little bit.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3.
So the best thing for all the mics that I own, which are primarily for recording music, they're generally not as sensitive dynamically over a wide range. So it helps if you're a little bit closer to it. Kind of get yourself as close as you can to it. Do you want to go ahead again and I'll turn you up a little more?
10, 9, 8, 7,
There we
6.
go. Okay, great. Thank you.
Woo, my
That's my story. No, I want to tell you Ingrid's story. Ingrid, mother was born in New Jersey. Her father was born in Minnesota. When Ingrid was born, the father, and this will be almost entirely from the father's perspective, suddenly realized a feeling that he had never felt before. And it was a feeling of attachment, not wanting to let go. And as Ingrid grew up, as she went through her growing up, 1 month, 2 month, 3 month celebrations and all that, the father suddenly thought he knew a lot about raising children, especially at 6 months, when the child was 6 months old. And so he started giving advice to parents. The advice was this: the moment your child is born, that's when you start letting go of that child. And as time went along, the father kept saying that, not really fully understanding what he was saying. And so Ingrid is growing up, and one thing we always taught Ingrid, the parents always did this: Ingrid, don't be afraid to spread your wings. Go places, see people, explore. And all of a sudden, it was time for Ingrid to graduate from high school. So Ingrid, where are you going to college? Well, Dad, I've decided I'm going to the University of Minnesota, Twin Cities. But Ingrid, that's a long ways away. There's people up there we don't know. And there's things that happen up there that are bad, but, Dad, you always told me, spread my wings and fly. All right, Ingrid. So Ingrid, one day, along with the parents, found themselves at the entrance door to Pioneer Hall at the University of Minnesota campus. And she turned around, she walked into that dorm and waved, "See ya." Of course, she's all smile. The dad is going, "Oh, my God, my daughter, my daughter." And the dad left a little piece of his heart on that sidewalk out in front of Pioneer Hall that day. Fast forward 4 years, it's graduation time. And Ingrid has a degree in journalism. And she graduates. Ingrid, what are you going to do? I am going to get a job here in the Twin Cities, and I will live here. But Ingrid, it's the Twin Cities, Ingrid. There are a lot of people here we still don't know. It's a big place. but, Dad. Now you know what's coming. You always told me, spread my wings, go out and explore, see new people. Ingrid got an apartment on the east side of Lake Calhoun. She got herself a pet kitten and was interviewed by and accepted a position with Minneapolis St. Paul magazine and was with them for about 3 years. And then it happened because when Ingrid was 3 years old, she made this statement to us. While the people were walking through Central Park in New York City, Ingrid stopped walking, put her hands on her hips and said, I will live in New York City one day. Dad was befuddled. And after Ingrid had worked at Minneapolis St. Paul magazine for about 3 years, it happened. She said to her family, this summer I'm going to New York City to live and work. But Ingrid, it's big. 7 million people, we know 2 people there. How are you going to get around? But Ingrid, it's scary. But Ingrid, it's far away. But. Dad, you always told me, spread my wings, go see new places and people and things. All right. A few months later, the father and the daughter were driving on 494 on their way to Minneapolis St. Paul International Airport. And as the car was driven into the parking ramp at Humphrey Terminal, we parked and they walked into the terminal. Ingrid walked up to the agent, got her flight information, her boarding pass, and the father and daughter sat down and waited for the flight to be called. And it was called. But as they were sitting there, suddenly it dawned on the father. Up until this time, the father saw himself as the teacher and the daughter as the student. And what was actually happening was the flipping of the roles. At that point, Ingrid was the teacher and the father was the student, because Ingrid was doing exactly what she had been told to do. She was spreading her wings. And the father suddenly realized that he was not letting go, while the daughter was stretching and going. And as they stood there at the gate, he put his arms around her, gave her a kiss on the cheek and said, Ingrid, don't ever forget where you're from. Don't forget your roots. Oh, I won't, Dad. I won't. And with that, she turned, waved, and walked away. You may have guessed that I am the father and Ingrid is my daughter. To this day, she lives and works in New York City. Married a fine young man. They have a son, our grandson. His name is Axel, A-K-S-E-L, I might add. And I love, whenever we are together, to walk up to her and put my arm around her and say, Ingrid, don't forget, the day your child is born is the day you must start letting go. And she always goes, yeah, Dad, I know. And so in my mind, I'm saying, yeah, now I know too, because you taught me that. Ingrid's story.